Hey, and welcome back. I'm your host, Wayne McPhail. This is a local food co-op production of content in hand, getting the best rich media from your mobile device. And we're in part two. In part two, we're going to be looking at some practical tips, things you can do, really simple things you can do to get the very best pictures and best video out of your camera. So let's dive right in. First up, go steady. Try to find some way to keep your smartphone stable. To learn more about it, let's listen to this guy. One of the easiest ways to get the best images out of your smartphone is to use a tripod. Now this one here is a big heavy video tripod, and you probably don't want to be carting that around to take a lot of pictures with your smartphone. But there are other options. So let's take a look at them. This is a really lightweight tripod, very solid but still pretty lightweight and folds up nicely. And what I like about it is it has a pistol grip here that allows you to get close and move around very easily. There are other options. There are things called monopods, and monopods are like a tripod except they just have a single post. One of the ones I like is this one here because it's got these legs that you can use to support your camera when it's on the ground. Not so great on carpeting. And then you can just fold those legs up like that, and you've got a monopod that allows you to sort of plant your camera down and keep it nice and steady. Now, if even that's too much for you, there's other options. You can use very simple things. Like this is it's called a GorillaPod, and it's articulated and it makes it really easy. You can see to fold up around things. You can actually use it as almost like a pistol grip on your hand. It will also mount on other surfaces. Pretend this is a tabletop. And it's very flexible, very versatile. You can hang it upside down on a branch even if you want to. And there are other options. This is a very small tripod. You've probably seen these in some camera stores, and you can just fold the legs out like that and set it on a tabletop again, and very useful. Now you might be saying, how do I attach my camera to a tripod, because there's no way to easily mount it? Well, this is what this little guy is for. So if we take a standard phone, we can just sort of take those open like that, put the phone in there, and then it's locked into place, and we can use the tripod with that in place. So very simple, very inexpensive mount that just collapses down really lightly and really easy to use. So again, just that very simple kind of mechanism here to open it up. So those are some options. Now, you don't even have to use a tripod if you are in a circumstance where you can't use a tripod. So one of the things you might want to do is to very simply brace yourself. So imagine that this is a tabletop. We could simply put your hands down here and shoot with your phone really simply. So I'm taking a shot, I'm bracing it against the tabletop, and it works really well. Now, if you can't do that, you can use the back of a chair. And if you can't use any of those things, what you can do is at least be sensible about the way you use your body to take a picture. So a lot of people shoot like this, like the phone is giving off a bad smell or something. They're holding it at arm's length. So what you really want to do is try to keep your camera as close to your body as you can, your smartphone as close to your body as you can. So you're not using this big lever, and it makes it really easy to shake. Keep it close and keep your knees flexible. Brace your arms up here, shorten the lever here. Maybe breathe in, slowly exhale, and just touch the shutter button. You don't have to jam it, you don't have to pound it, because it's just touch sensitive, and take your shot that way. So those are all great ways to stabilize your camera, from moving to a big tripod like this, thinking about using a lighter one that does similar things like this one here, to using a monopod, to using even the small little guys that allow you to take shots on a tabletop and steady your camera that way. So, first practical tip, use a tripod, brace yourself some way. Your picture will be 100% better simply by doing that. There you go. The next tip is to use your feet, not your fingers, to zoom. Now, what does that mean? Well, a lot of people when they use a camera, they'll do this to zoom in on an image. That is dead wrong, because you can't sort of apply magical thinking to photography. You can't invent pixels. You can't create data. You can't create sharpness, information that isn't there in the original photograph. So use your sneakers, not your fingers. So here's an example. Here's a picture I took of my garden in the spring. I'm shooting this in the winter, so it wouldn't look so good now. And that's just at the distance where that's what's framed in the shot. The one on the left is what you'll get if you zoom in with your fingers. The one on the right is what you get if you walk forward and take the picture by just sort of stepping forward. You can maybe see the difference in this shot, and we'll go into it a little more. So there's the feet on the left, the fingers on the right. You can see the quality of the fingers is terrible relative to the feet. So again, there's the feet and there's the fingers. Obviously terrible quality with the finger shot relative to the one you shot with your feet. And here's another example. So here is the same iris zoomed in post-production when you're actually cropping in Photoshop or whatever to get the image. And the finger shot on the left there, or sorry, on the right, looks very similar. Why? Because it's exactly the same thing. You're doing exactly the same thing in post-production when you crop in on something as when you zoom in with your fingers. You're just reducing the number of pixels. You're not increasing the amount of information in the image. So it's a terrible idea to zoom using your fingers. And just one more time looking at that. Exactly identical, fingers and post-crop. Two last quick tips. First of all, clean your lens. This seems like a simple idea, but it's difficult, I think, to remember doing it all the time. So your lens is here in this camera, and it's nice to use just a microfiber cloth or something like that to just polish the lens, get the dust off it, get the finger smears off it. And you can see in these images here that it's a terrible image because it's all smeared at the light, at the the specular highlights they're called. But that grease is smearing and reducing the contrast and the color saturation and the sharpness of every pixel in that picture. So you don't want to do that. The other thing that's really simple is knowing where your microphone is. You don't want to be shooting video by covering up your microphone. In this case, there's microphones here and there's also some here on this phone. You don't want to be shooting with your hand over here because you're muffling the microphone. So again, very simple tip, but it's really worthwhile just sort of figuring out where your microphone is. Check your documentation, check a manual online, or just eyeball it and see where the microphones are, or test, do some mic testing holding your phone in different ways. So that's it, part 2, a few simple ways to get better pictures out of your phone. You can apply them right away, and I hope you do. Now, in part 3, we're going to be talking about composition, and that's how you frame an image, how you create a sense of tension, remove extraneous detail, make the image more interesting, and apply the geometry of the world to your composition. So I look forward to seeing you in part 3 of Content in Hand, getting the best rich media from your mobile device. Thanks for watching.